when a group of fake HOA enforcers tried to tow a government security truck right from a quiet Austin neighborhood. The line between authority and lawlessness was brutally crossed. These imposters, armed with counterfeit badges and bold lies, brazenly threatened an innocent resident with fines and intimidation. But thanks to a timely call and the arrival of real state agents, the whole scheme unraveled in an unexpected and powerful way. Just wait until you hear how justice slammed down on these scammers. This story's dramatic turn will leave you breathless. It was an early, crisp morning in a quiet Austin suburb. The kind of morning where everything feels still and calm before the bustle of the day begins. I stepped outside, ready to head off to work, coffee in hand, expecting just a regular day. But then I saw something that made me stop dead in my tracks. A black pickup truck, flashing blue and red lights, parked right at the edge of my driveway. The sudden intrusion shattered the calm instantly. There were 3 men standing around the truck, all dressed in dark uniforms with HOA enforcement boldly printed on the backs of their shirts. The guy closest to my truck was hooking it up to a tow truck with a mechanical efficiency that made my stomach tighten. Another was scribbling something in a notepad with an air of authority. I felt a rush of confusion and disbelief. Who were these people, and why were they doing this without any warning? I stepped closer and called out sharply, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" They barely spared me a glance. The tallest one, with thick mustaches curling over his upper lip and a hard, steely stare, threw a cold and clipped response over his shoulder. "Illegal parking violation. Your truck is being towed." I was frozen. Illegal parking in this quiet neighborhood with no HOA to speak of. I hadn't agreed to any community rules or restrictions, never signed anything about parking, and most importantly, that truck wasn't even mine. It belonged to the governor's security detail. My neighbor Jake worked for the governor's team, and that truck was his temporary ride, temporarily parked while he was visiting my place. But the men acting so boldly, so aggressively, clearly didn't care about any of that. They were acting like they owned the place, and I was just an obstacle. The shock was overwhelming. I felt my heart pound, and a cold rush ran down my spine as I realized this was no mistake. These people had come with a purpose, and that purpose was to take the truck no matter what. I tried to stay calm as I explained the situation, hoping logic would cut through the madness. "That truck belongs to the governor's security team," I said firmly. "My neighbor Jake is part of their detail. It's official government property, parked here temporarily. You have no right to tow it." But they ignored me completely. The mustached man's lips curled into a sneer. "Spare us your lies," he said, voice dripping with contempt. "We know you're parking unauthorized vehicles on the street. This is a violation." As I looked closer, suspicion gave way to alarm. Their badges, cheap plastic fakes, shining awkwardly in the sunlight. Their patches looked hastily sewn, like something made in a backyard. These weren't real officers or authorized HOA enforcers. They were imposters, men brazen enough to invade private property, pretending to have authority they clearly didn't possess. A deep, burning hatred welled up inside me, hotter and fiercer than anything I'd felt in a long time. Not just because of their audacity, but because of how arrogantly they treated me. As if I were a criminal caught red-handed. They weren't just breaking the law. They were mocking the very idea of respect and fairness. I felt that rage coiled tight in my chest, and I knew I couldn't let it go. These imposters weren't just threatening property. They were threatening the peace and trust of the entire neighborhood, and they had to be stopped. The tension inside me exploded into action. I pulled out my phone, held it steady, and started recording, narrating every move those imposters made. Here we are, some fake HOA officers trying to tow a government truck, I said loudly, my voice firm but controlled. Let's see what they do next. One of them immediately moved to block my camera, stepping directly in front of the lens with a scowl. Another threatened me with fines, his tone filled with bluster. You're looking at penalties up to $5,000 if you don't cooperate. It hit me. These guys weren't here to enforce rules or keep order. They were looking for someone to bully, to intimidate, to shake down, for cash or control. Their whole act was a scam, a power play to scare ordinary people into submission. Without hesitation, I dialed Jake. His calm voice on the other end was a steady anchor. Stay put. I'm on my way. Within minutes, a sleek black SUV rolled up smoothly at the end of my driveway. Two tall, imposing men in tailored suits stepped out, their dark sunglasses hiding their eyes but not their professionalism. They moved silently, flashing badges that carried the weight of real authority. The imposter's smug confidence crumbled instantly. The tall agent stepped forward, his voice cutting through the tension like ice. This vehicle is part of the state security fleet. Identify yourselves. The fake officers faltered, trying to bluff their way out. One panicked and tried to run, but the agents moved with precision, stopping him cold within seconds. The whole scene shifted. What had been a tense standoff became a swift reckoning. The imposters had met their match. After the governor's security team took control, the real police arrived. It quickly became clear that these three men had been nothing but criminals, terrorizing the surrounding neighborhoods for weeks. They used fake HOA violations as a way to extort money from residents, counting on people's fear and confusion. None of them had legitimate licenses, certifications, or authority. They were scammers, plain and simple. I stood by my front gate, watching as they were handcuffed and loaded into patrol cars. Their earlier bravado was completely replaced by fear and defeat. For once, the scales of justice had tipped. One of the agents from the governor's team walked past me with a small smile. "Thanks for not letting them tow government property," he said sincerely. "We'll make sure these guys don't get another chance to impersonate law enforcement or cause this kind of trouble again." That moment brought a wave of deep satisfaction. It wasn't just about stopping a theft or saving a truck. It was about standing up for what's right, refusing to be bullied, and seeing justice hit hard and fast. The neighborhood's peace was restored, and I felt proud knowing I had played a part in it. This was more than just a story about fake cops or a truck. It was a reminder that courage and truth can defeat deceit, that speaking up matters, and that no one should have to live in fear of imposters claiming false power.